Talking points.
Talking points. Talking points.
Talking points.
Talking points.
Talking points.
Talking points.
Talking points.
Talking points. Talking points.
Talking points.
This is Talking Points, the panel discussion program for Western Maine, devoted to topics drawn from stories which have appeared in Today River Valley, the video news feature program of the Androscoggin River Valley. I'm Phil Blampede, the producer of the program. We're coming to you from Bistro 151 in the Sudbury Inn on Main Street in Bethel, Maine. Let's meet our panelists. Lori Gilbert is the founder, editor, and publisher of Bethel Living, a magazine with in-depth articles about people, places, and events in the greater Bethel area and the western Maine mountains. Lori owns and operates Royal River Graphics in Bethel, where she creates websites and promotional and marketing materials for businesses throughout New England. Find out more at royalrivergraphics.com. Steve White, retired after 38 years operating Sunday River Inn and Cross Country Ski Center with his wife Peggy, served 34 years as a selectman in the town of Newry and 23 years as a commissioner on the Maine Land Use Regulation Commission. Steve now serves on the boards of many local, statewide, and regional nonprofit organizations, working in areas including youth, wellness, conservation, recreation, education, forest health, and community resilience. As for me, Phil Blampede, I launched the video feature show Today River Valley 4 years ago. It started on the internet and eventually got region-wide placement on WPME TV. My idea was to take the kind of community journalism found in local newspapers and translate it into a video program. Not only can you find the program on WPME TV, you can also watch it at any time at todayrivervalley.com. Guest panelist for this edition of Talking Points is Jeff Parsons. For several decades, Jeff and his wife Patty have run the well-known Bethel Outdoor Adventure Campground on the banks of the Androscoggin River in Bethel, Maine. Through camping and kayak, canoe, paddleboard, and inner tube rentals, Jeff and Patty have introduced thousands of people to the pleasures and beauty of the Androscoggin River and its surroundings. As a registered Maine guide and former program director of Outward Bound, Jeff has promoted recreation and tourism in western Maine by creating opportunities for visitors and residents alike to take advantage of the natural splendors of the area. Find out more at www.betheloutdooradventure.com. In this edition of Talking Points, the panel will discuss a melodic subject, the phenomenon of musical instruments being put outside at parks and other public spaces for anyone walking by to play. These harmony parks with sturdy, outdoor hardy xylophones, bells, and drums are a popular addition to the usual benches and swings common in most parks and public areas. The panel will look at whether they'll become more common or whether they may be too impractical to catch on. Then, with guest panelist Jeff Parsons, the panel will look at trapping, the practice of catching small animals to kill them for their fur, and ask whether it's a wholesome part of rural American culture or something that's so cruel it should be restricted or banned. All that and more after messages from local businesses.
Talking Points is sponsored by the Sudbury Inn. Lodging, fine dining, and a lively pub in an historic inn, right on Main Street in Bethel, Maine.
Make the Sudbury Inn your headquarters for your next trip to Bethel. Centrally located downtown, this charming 19th century inn is right in the middle of shopping, skiing, fine dining, and all other Bethel attractions. Accommodations range from a full apartment with its own fireplace to deluxe two-room suites to single rooms. And you don't have to go far to find the best of Bethel, from fine dining in the main dining room to pub fare and live music in the popular Suds Pub to a bistro menu and bar in Bistro 151, featuring light fare with a creative flair, lobster ravioli with shrimp cream sauce, sweet pea and caramelized onion ravioli with a blue cheese sauce, blackened sea bass with a cucumber salsa, citrus-glazed veal short ribs with an Asian sauce. The Sudbury Inn is family-friendly, can accommodate pets, and as the magazine Bon Appetit put it, is the perfect way to end a day in Bethel. Call today for more information.
In the October edition of Today River Valley, we report on Harmony Parks, and in specific, the one in Littleton, New Hampshire. Harmony Parks can be found in other places as well as New Mexico, the North Pole, Hong Kong, Colorado. The question we're discussing today is there a benefit to having these installations in public spaces? Phil, no?
Well, I think these things are great, but I'm going to take the point of view of the guy that has a house next to a park, and the Parks Commission says that they're going to install these things. And I can just see them going to a local meeting and saying, I don't want people coming down at midnight and hammering away on those things while I'm trying to sleep.
Steve?
Well, I like Phil's answer because I've been in the position of trying to promote things like this in the past and gotten hammered down. But yes, I think they are beneficial. I think that it would have to be a decision of the town to put them in, but I think people would like it.
Well, let's talk about that.
When you go to a public park, you expect to find benches, swings, and water fountains, but in many places there's now something else: musical instruments made to last outdoors and to be played by anyone who feels the urge to make some music. These are musical parks, and as the manufacturer puts it, there are no amps and there are no wrong notes.
Outdoor musical installations, known as harmony parks, are appearing in public spaces and exist of musical instruments such as xylophones, drums, chimes, and bells, often hit with hammers and mallets. What are the benefits of having those existence in public spaces?
I think they're delightful. They're kids have a great time with them. It's just a really colorful note in a community. I mean, it says something about a community if it's not just utilitarian things in the public space, but there's also some element of play. I think it adds quite a bit to the tone of the community. But as I said before, I'm sure, and Steve agreed with this, that if you had somebody living next to a park and the town was about to put in a whole bunch of instruments, they would be concerned. They'd show up and they'd say they didn't want somebody out there banging on the instruments at midnight. And in Littleton, New Hampshire, where there's a significant installation of these, that's what is described in the story in Today River Valley, the Littleton installation. They do have a time limit. I think you can't start, or at least the sign asks you not to start until 10, and then you're supposed to stop at sunset.
Well, most parks have hours like that. So, but I think that they're a great idea. I think anything that gives people another reason to go out in the park, get out in the air, get out and walk around is wonderful. I mean, I was fascinated when the Pokemon Go thing came along. My own grandson, who never leaves his computer, walked for 5 miles trying to find some particular Pokemon thing. And I think that this musical instruments would do the same thing. My daughter-in-law is a music teacher. My granddaughter is just about to go off to music education school, and I can't wait to talk to them about it. I think anything that gets music to the people sounds great to me. You can, I agree that anything can be misused, but I'm sure that time limits on when you make your music will be helpful.
Well, music is also a universal language. Anyone can go out there and play, whether you have any handicaps or anything holding you back, disabilities, or whether you're an infant or at any age, elderly. You can go out and enjoy, and it's a form of expression.
And even handicaps in terms of not being musical.
Well, these instruments are tuned in such a way. They're not conventional scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do kind of a scale. They are, I don't know what the technical term is, a diatonic scale or something like that. They make interesting harmonies and melodies just by pounding them randomly. So you don't need to be an expert musician to just go bang 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 and suddenly you've got something sweet. And so that encourages people. On the other hand, if you are a musician and you do know how to play using the conventional scale, you try to find the notes and say, what is this? I can't find anything. Can't even play the simplest melodies. All you can play is these sort of tone poems that come out of this thing.
Well, I can testify that they're a magnetic draw for kids. We had some out on our cross-country ski trails, particularly on the inner easy loops. We would have wind chimes that you could also motivate by hitting them with a stick, and we had xylophones made out of various sized logs and strung together with rope. And it was my daughter-in-law, the music teacher, was not too sure they were in tune, but everybody had a good time out there pounding on them. So.
Well, in Littleton, this was an attempt, I think, to revive this sort of depressed area. I think they wanted to enhance the park, and they're trying to build in business and commerce, and it's a lovely touch for their town.
They're going to get mad at you because Littleton is not depressed. It's a really nice little town.
But
it's getting nicer.
But it was
nicer,
part of the
nicer.
revival
Yes.
along the riverside.
On the other hand, Littleton has just gone through the same process that Bethel's about to go through. It's a program called Heart and Soul. It's sponsored by the Orton Foundation, and it gives you a roadmap for creating a more resilient community within your town. So I'm excited to hear that was one of the outgrowths of what they've done, because we're just about to enter the experience here.
Now these instruments are not inexpensive. They're $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a piece. The question is that a reasonable investment in terms of how long they might last?
I think you'd have to do the research. I'm not sure how long. I did look at the company that was making the products, and they're extremely high quality. It was pretty neat. I watched a fast forward of how they were putting together these xylophones and packing them and shipping them, and they used the best of the best, and it's a pretty neat company.
Well, I think there you'd need what you might call community resilience again, because you would need a sufficient number of continuing stewards and volunteers to go out every now and then and wipe the salt off the instruments, and dust them and polish them and all of that. And if you had that, they are solid. They probably could go for 10, 20 years.
Yeah, I think it would be a very relaxing and refreshing experience. You've got the park and all the scenic beauty, but as well you're being able to be creative and create some musical notes, which has a calming effect on you if you are in that environment.
Talking Points. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Roger Whitehouse, owner and designated broker of Riverside Realty, located at 152 River Road in Mexico, Maine. We have an incredible amount of listings. Inventory is high, interest rates are low. Just take a look at a couple of these listings.
Here's MLS 1254946, an historic three-story circa 1900 brick commercial building in the center of Rumford, ready to go as a tavern, bar, nightclub, or function facility. It has a fully applianced banquet room and a commercial kitchen and an auditorium space on the upper floors, currently used as an Elks Lodge, but with many other opportunities for commercial use, listed at $399,000. Here's MLS 1204416, a very well-maintained 9-room, 4-bedroom home with a detached 2-car garage with storage above and workshop in the rear. On over 2 acres, this property is in a quiet neighborhood on a dead-end street and features an extensive, well-maintained perennial garden in the backyard, listed at $115,000.
My staff of 6 has over a combined work history of over 100 years. We're here to serve you. Whether you're considering buying or selling real estate, call Riverside Realty at 369-0100. Hope to see you soon.
If you know someone who likes to work with wood, here's an incredible holiday gift. A gift certificate to Rare Woods USA in Mexico, Maine, supplier of rare and exotic woods. With 150 types of wood from ash to zebra wood, Rare Woods ships to anywhere in the USA. With one of the biggest inventories in the world of rare and exotic lumber, Rare Woods accepts all major credit cards. Call 207-364-1520 or connect with us on Facebook or at www.rarewoodsusa.com. Rare Woods, we are passionate about wood and your next project. Looking for a convenient and inexpensive place to stay in Western Maine? Visit the Paris Inn Motel, located conveniently on Route 26 in South Paris, a short drive from the Oxford Casino and the attractions of the Bethel area. Newly renovated rooms, open year-round. Picture the name and logo of your business or organization on an attractive polo shirt, windbreaker, cap, or t-shirt. Then come by Perfect Stitch on Route 26 in South Paris, where you can turn that vision into a reality. Perfect Stitch is the place to go in Western Maine for embroidery, screen printing, and promotional items. With full-scale production right on site, Perfect Stitch can fill any order from a single shirt to dozens of them. Offering advertising and promotional items as well, Perfect Stitch is the one-stop shop for all your promotional needs.
I'm Amy Ford. I own and operate Perfect Stitch Embroidery. Come on in and see the wide variety of products we offer at our showroom at 191 Park Street in South Paris. We can help you figure out what products would fit your needs best. Hope to see you soon.
Talking Points is sponsored by the Sudbury Inn. Lodging, fine dining and a lively pub in an historic inn, right on Main Street in Bethel, Maine.
In the October edition of Today River Valley, there is a piece on the Trappers Weekend held right here in Bethel just a couple of weeks ago. Trapping is the art, the skill of killing a few animals for a relatively small amount of money for their pelts. The question is, should trapping be restricted or even banned? Okay, no, yes. Phil?
I say yes because there's a general consensus in society that trapping is cruel, and trapping doesn't have much practical value anymore, so I think it should be at least restricted.
Okay. Laurie?
Trappers feel that they can assist in the regulation of the herd and keep a healthier population and control of animals that they're trapping.
Okay, let's talk about it.
For some, the idea of trapping small animals for fur may sound like an old-fashioned activity from the era of covered wagons, but in fact, trapping is still practiced in rural America. In Maine alone, there were over 2,400 trapping licenses issued in 2015. And every summer, trappers from around the region gather at the New England Trappers Weekend in East Bethel, Maine.
Okay, my name is Neil Olson, and we're at the New England Trappers Weekend. This is the 40th year of this gathering, and we have people from all over the country. One year I kept track, and we had people from 26 different states and 2 provinces.
The Trappers Weekend was an interesting event, and it was held in East Bethel in August, and I was surprised to even find that there were still people in the United States who went out and caught small animals and sold their fur. There are 2,400 licenses in the state of Maine for trapping each year, and so it's quite an extensive practice. But the market for furs has collapsed for a variety of reasons. So it's not possible to make a living as a trapper. It's just a part-time thing. People do it for a little extra cash. So if trapping were further restricted or banned, the economic impact on Maine would be negligible. Nobody needs the money they're getting from trapping. And I think there's a general consensus growing in society that animal cruelty is less and less acceptable. And what the trappers do to animals is quite cruel. They cause them to be stuck in a trap for many, many hours. Sometimes the traps are becoming more humane, but in the past, sometimes the traps were quite cruel. There were traps, for instance, that would drown animals. I think most people would agree that if they ever saw an animal caught in a trap and then a trapper coming on them and shooting them ahead with a .22, I think most people would agree that that's a cruel practice. And since it doesn't have much value anymore, you can't eat bobcat meat, or if you do, you're a very unusual person. So I think society would be served if trapping were restricted somewhat. And it's cheap to get a trapper's license. My thought would be just to increase the price so that fewer people did it.
Well, I think a lot of the trappers do feel that in many ways, trapping and taking a creature that way is less cruel than Mother Nature might have with raccoons with distemper and skunks with rabies. Those are pretty tough ways to go. And the mange situation comes and goes frequently with the fox and the coyote herds. And to cull and thin a herd that's having a hard time with those diseases is a valuable way to end some very cruel ways of living, dying.
So you see trapping as mercy killing?
No, I see trapping as part of our heritage. It's something that we've done for years, hundreds of years in Maine, and I myself have skinned a few animals, and to me it's a form of, it's a chance for me to get close to this nature, close to appreciate this creature. I've frequently pulled over to appreciate roadkill. Nature to me is spectacular. In our day-to-day human interaction of life, we don't get to see the mystery and the wonder to me of, Scott Berry just last week over in Grafton Notch trapped and shot an almost 400-pound bear. And they've been having quite a few problems in the Grafton Notch. They're getting into the garbage, they're getting into farmers' grain bins, they're opening car doors, taking down bird feeders, and something needs to be done to control these creatures, and I believe that the trappers feel that's their right.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
It's like all practices in a culture that become ingrained, people begin to feel it's their right. I know one of the great problems with preserving the redwoods and the sequoias out west was that the local population felt it was their right to cut these trees down because they made a few bucks on it, and they were outraged that outsiders would tell them to do anything else. I mean, that's a very common part of when you have a rural traditional culture. Some animals need to be controlled. There might be an argument for control of coyotes, but some animals, the killing is just for the fur and it serves no function whatsoever. There is no problem with bobcats. There is no problem with muskrats. There's not much of a problem with raccoons.
There have been problems with muskrats in the past when the Androscoggin was very dirty. There was sewage and trash and mill pollution, and at that point in time there was a very heavy population of muskrats, and I know trappers that have gone out and in a few days been able to trap 100 muskrats that were sort of out of control. It was a very dirty situation.
What would a muskrat do to human society? I wasn't aware that they were.
Well, I think it was more like what human society was doing to itself with all of the garbage and sewage effluent, and making a situation that was favorable for the muskrats.
And muskrats will dig holes in dams around ponds, that kind of thing, irrigation ponds or whatever, and slowly destroy them. So Phil, if we could make these traps humane, and I'm not sure that's a pretty loaded word, how much would that change your mind?
Well, they are trying to make the traps more humane. But that doesn't mean that all the trappers are using the latest, most expensive humane traps. A lot are still using whatever cruel device they might have had 20 years ago. It's still in the garage, so they haul it out. There are many practices that society as a whole doesn't approve of very much, but doesn't exactly want to ban either, like cigarette smoking. So the solution is to make it more and more expensive, and the more expensive it becomes, the fewer people engage in it. And right now, a trapper's license is $36 in the state of Maine.
Seems pretty cheap.
Yeah, and you need to take a 10-hour course, which I guess you could take online. It's simple to pass. My thought is if it were a $236 license, because the return on the furs is so poor at the moment, that would probably, instead of having 2,400 licenses, you might have 400 licenses. It would reduce the incidence of trapping, reduce the incidence of what people feel is a cruel practice, and it would still allow some really dedicated people to go out there and participate in control practices, like going after coyotes when a farmer says his herd's being harassed, and so a trapper would go out and set some traps. It could fall back to the level of really being for some practical purpose, not just killing for a hobby.
We're talking about relatively low amounts of return on this practice. Do either of you know any of the numbers? What do you get for a
I
for
do.
a pelt? Do you know?
Yes. Raccoons are only $3 to $5. And red fox, which used to be $70, is now down to about $20.
Okay, so
Many of these
$20 for a
prices
red
were much
fox.
higher, but of course in the 70s, the fur ban and all.
So I want to be clear, $20 for a red fox.
Or a coyote,
Well,
pretty much.
Or coyote, okay. That's not much,
It's
is
not
it?
much.
No.
No.
It's an awful lot of work for a small return. So that comment is right. That's great. Okay.
So what do you think, Jeff?
I would probably side with your argument, Phil. I'm probably in the middle, really. I don't mind the idea of culling animals. You're talking about herds. I don't know do we talk about a herd of muskrat?
No, a deer herd can be damaged tragically by a healthy coyote pack.
Yeah.
No, that's...
Yeah. I certainly see the need for the culling of animals. Whether we do that by trapping, I'm hearing the cruelty. I don't like the concept of an animal being held by its leg until it either drowns or until somebody comes along and shoots it. Can we make that more humane? I'm not sure. On the other hand, I do not like the thought of restricting or eliminating people from things that have been done for tens, hundreds of years. So I think I'm in the middle somewhere.
Talking points.
This is Connie Asno, and we look forward to serving you in our historical downtown Rumford restaurant.
Connie's Place, now open at 136 Congress Street, downtown Rumford on the island.
If your shoes don't feel right or your feet hurt, don't ignore the warning signs. Visit Pine Tree Orthopedic Lab in Livermore Falls, the leading provider of corrective shoes and accessories in Maine. Foot problems can lead to pain in the knee, hip, and back. At Pine Tree Orthopedic Lab, we design footwear to relieve pain or discomfort from disease, overuse, or congenital conditions. In our retail showroom, there are 4 certified pet orthotists who provide your initial foot exam at no charge. All manufacturing of your custom footwear, orthotics, and braces is done on site.
Hi, I'm Bruce McDonald, president of Pine Tree Orthopedic Lab, and I'd like to invite you to come to the most unique shoe store in Maine, where we are the foot comfort specialists.
Don't ignore that discomfort. Pine Tree Orthopedic Lab, open Monday through Friday 8 to 5, Saturday 8 to 2.
At Dan's Automotive, you'll find reliable used cars in the $3,000 to $6,000 range. You get more car for less money. These are brands that are known for their reliability and long life, and each is mechanically updated, even including new timing belts when needed. Cars come with state inspection and 14-day plates. Come browse the lot at 625 Crescent Avenue in Rumford and grab your car before someone else does.
We bought our car at Dan's, and we're glad we did.
Dan's Automotive Repair and Sales, 625 Crescent Avenue, Rumford, Maine, 369-9302. Right here in Turner is New England's largest dealer of snowmobile, ATV, cargo, and equipment trailers at Scott's Recreation. Come inside our showroom for everything you need to get out on the trail this winter, and there's no money down financing for qualified applicants.
Hi, I'm Scott from Scott's Recreation. We're ready for winter. Are you?
Scott's Recreation, open Monday through Saturday.
Excuse me, sir, are you getting a little shaggy around the ears but can't find time for a haircut? Well, now you can. At Lisa's Barbershop at 178 Main Street in Mexico, owner Lisa Shardlow specializes in quick haircuts. No appointment is necessary and there's rarely a wait. At Lisa's, the motto is cut and go.
Mistletoe season is coming. Do you have the kind of hair your sweetheart wants to run her fingers through? Or the kind of hair that makes her want to run and get a comb for you? Make sure your hair is at its holiday best with a trim here at Lisa's Barbershop.
Open Tuesday through Friday, 9 to 5, Saturday, 9 to noon.
Talking Points is sponsored by the Sudbury Inn. Lodging, fine dining and a lively pub in an historic inn, right on Main Street in Bethel, Maine.
Well, that's it for the November 2016 edition of Talking Points. This is Phil Blampy, the host and producer of the program. For myself, for panelists Lori Gilbert, Steve White, and Jeff Parsons, have a bounteous Thanksgiving, and see you next month.